What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. So today I have the opportunity to sit down with Charles, a.k.a. PTYX from ChainZILLA. Now today we're actually going to be focusing on Komodo and what's been really going on with the ecosystem. There's a lot of exciting updates today. And that being said, guys, before we get into it, I know there's been a lot of craziness going on lately. I want you to know this is not a sponsored video. Charles can attest to that. We are just sitting here to discuss what is going on with Komodo. So I want to say thank you so much for coming back to the channel, actually.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, before we get into it, I kind of want to talk about one thing real quick. I mean, you've been around quite some time in these markets, a lot longer than I have. And one of the big questions everyone's been asking is what is your opinion, first of all, on the current market? What do you think?
Current market. You know, it didn't take me by surprise that this crash happened. And the reason why is just because we have to be a little bit realistic about what we're looking at. And when we look at the valuation of these companies and their projects, right? And then we compare them to a brick and mortar business, it's crazy how much they're overvalued. So I think it was about a year and a half ago, it was way before Bitcoin even went way up to 19,000, that in the community, we were talking already about how there was going to be this huge swing, and then there's this huge crash where many projects were either going to, it's going to be like a make or break it moment, where there's going to be an onslaught of projects that don't have any technology. And I guess it did take a lot of people by surprise, but I think that's what's happening, and you're seeing it. I still don't think it's completely over either. I think, you know, there's still quite some ways to go in terms of purging value of projects that don't have that much value.
How has it affected you guys, though? I mean, I know we've seen some crazy things going on. Joseph Lubin consensus that they're laying stricter ground rules, basically axing projects that are underperforming. Steemit has laid off, I think, 70% of their employees. How are you guys dealing with it with the Komodo ecosystem? Are you guys having any struggles with that, or?
Well, for Komodo, we're lucky enough to have managed the internal budget well enough that there hasn't had to been any cuts internally. Everything is moving along fine as far as development goes, marketing, and however, it does affect, though, because it constricts you, especially in the development of the apps, because you have to give bounties sometimes for certain applications. So I have noticed, I mean, the bounties are still up, but obviously that affects how many of these bounties we can pay, or the Komodo project. Since I'm not part of the core team anymore, I'm working on ChainZILLA, but still, yeah. So it affects the how you plan, for example, for the next year or two. But from what I've seen, the Komodo team is very, very good at and resilient in terms of development. So I think they'll be fine in the long run. I've seen, though, other projects lay off quite a few people recently, and us in ChainZILLA, we haven't had to lay anyone off, but we actually planned to expand after February, and we're not planning to expand as much. We're just going to focus on developing the applications, and actually we're going to reassess everything in a year and seeing how the market is. So it definitely has affected us.
Yeah, you guys seem pretty calm about it. I mean, you don't seem like you're panicking or anything like that. So that's kind of a relief, I guess, for the average person. Now, speaking of some of the viewers of the channel, I know some people are new out there. Some people are, you know, they've been around on the channel for a while. Not everybody really knows 100% what Komodo does. In fact, I don't even know if anybody really knows 100% what Komodo does. Is it a platform? Is it, you know, it's just a very, but if you had to kind of like break it down into a nutshell and you had to explain to somebody new, what would you kind of say separates Komodo apart from all these other smart contract type platforms out there? Like, what really, you know, what's really different about you guys?
Right. I think Komodo has a focus. Many projects speak about focusing on decentralization, independence, but they end up centralizing the products around a system. And what Komodo has accomplished is to create an ecosystem that is fully independent, but it's integratable with itself. And I think that is one of the reasons why Komodo hasn't had so much recognition, because, for example, we've launched a project on Komodo, but we don't pay fees in Komodo. We pay fees in our coin. We're completely independent, segregated. So Komodo is not the centerpiece, as opposed to, for example, NEM, right, where you have to pay NEM fees or Ethereum. And that's where Komodo excels, is creating technology that is actually decentralized. It works, and it's interoperable with each other.
Yeah, I've looked into it a lot. It's really impressive the way you guys have it. I mean, you can essentially just replicate as many chains as you want. You guys really don't have any scalability issues currently, which is pretty impressive considering how much of a buzzword it is. And not to mention the fact that you guys have pretty much already solved 51% attacks, which I wanted you to just really super quick, just if you don't mind briefly explaining. I know you have the delayed proof of work. You know, we just saw Vertcoin. They got attacked. And this isn't the first time we've seen it. There's a few other projects I could say as well. So how are you guys preparing against something like this? Like, can you just real quick, what is delayed proof of work?
Sure. I like to call it or compare it to second factor authentication, like you have on your Google phone, right? That you have a double layer of security, and that's what the delayed proof of work is. You take the data off one blockchain, and we call it notarizations. You store it on a blockchain that has a higher hash rate, and in this case, that would be Bitcoin. So what we do is that we have these checkpoints every 10 minutes or so on the Bitcoin blockchain, and for a hacker to be able to undo the Komodo chain, they would have to undo those checkpoints, and therefore they would have to undo the Bitcoin blockchain as well. So it's this second layer of security. In essence, what Komodo is doing is that it's recycling Bitcoin's hash rate. So you could say it's making it eco-friendlier, and it is one of the only coins that has Bitcoin level security.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. So I mean, literally what you're saying is you'd have to pretty much take down Bitcoin and then also take down Komodo, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So the way that it works, for example, if you are a hacker that is trying to unwind the chain, you would only be able to get so far. You would not be able to unwind the whole thing. And this is key though for the exchanges, because if the exchanges are watching for the notarizations, we would stop 51% altogether because we would all be protected by Bitcoin's hash rate. So what we do to mitigate that, though, is that you contact the exchange and you tell them, hey, look, I want this many confirmations. Instead of, like, for example, 10 confirmations, I want 30 confirmations. And this just assures me that the whoever is trying to attack me will not be able to rewind that many. And then you prevent a double spend attack, because that's the real danger, right? Being able for them to spend the funds and create chaos.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy that you guys saw this, you know, so long ago, like the need for this, and now we're still having these issues as well. So it's really, really crazy. Obviously, you got to be safe out there, guys, especially with these attacks. And some of them are even able to do it just based on these price swings. You know, like if the price drops too much, it kind of makes it easier for these guys super quick, so they can rent hash power.
Exactly. Yeah, the hash rate could drop really, really suddenly, and then they could take over a coin, double spend it. Yeah, it's a real problem, and I still think it hasn't been looked at seriously enough. I mean, right now we have seen some hacks, but we have tools now that could prevent it, and people aren't taking it seriously. So I think until something big happens, people aren't going to be like, oh, what do we do? And I think what makes most sense, it is recycling Bitcoin's hash rate. We don't need to replicate it. That would be crazy. So
that's funny you use that analogy with people. I mean, isn't it always like that? Like, you don't start eating healthy till you get the heart attack. You don't start thinking about, you know, stopping the drinking until a family member dies. You know, like it's always just, you got to push it to that point, man. So
I think it's human nature in a way.
Absolutely. So, but the real reason we are here today, though, I just wanted to get people involved to understand a little bit of what you guys are. So December 15th, you guys keep pushing it. This is a super big day for Komodo. I wanted to talk about some of the updates that you guys have going on. But before we get into it, I wanted to talk about Verus, because it looks like they're playing a pretty key role in some of these updates. So what is their deal? How are they involved?
Well, Verus started as a project led by Mike. I can't pronounce his last name, but he used to work for Microsoft. He's a very talented developer, and it was a fork of Komodo. It was just improved. It has a hybrid algorithm that combines CPU. It's only CPU mining, and it has like 50% proof of stake, 50% proof of work. So it's virtually impossible to also take over, because for the hacker to be able to unwind it, you would have to take over the proof of work, and then you would have to take over the proof of stake. It's pretty interesting. And anyways, it evolved, and eventually they just migrated or implemented back into Komodo and into the delayed proof of work layer. So now Verus has their own hashing algorithm. They're secured by Bitcoin. They're interoperable with the Komodo chains, and they implemented the Sapling update, which was created or was released by Zcash recently. And what the Sapling update is a major update that no other Zcoin or Zcash fork has been able to implement. And yeah, they implemented it, and then soon after, it was migrated over to the Komodo chain. So that's really what the December 15th update is about, is the Sapling update that's coming to Komodo.
Yeah, Verus, they also solved that the nothing at stake problem. That was a huge issue. So what is the Sapling update? Obviously, it's a pretty big update. I think you're kind of underplaying the importance of it. So I want you to just kind of explain the significance of that update.
Well, it really is interesting because up to now, the zero knowledge proofs haven't been given too much utility because you need so many resources to actually create a zero knowledge proof. Usually you need to download the full blockchain, run the full daemon, but now with the Sapling update, it reduces the amounts of resources that it takes to create a zero knowledge proof. Also, they have decoupled the authorization keys. So what that means is that you'll be able to spend your spending key and your viewing key are separate. And this allows for SPV transactions or like light wallets. So you'll be able to make zero knowledge transactions on a mobile phone. Now, it works obviously very well for trading coins. So you would be able to anonymize the coin, but it also works for other things like messages. So, and I think there's platforms like Hush. They have developed these messaging systems based on this Zcash. So you will be able to create dApps that work with these zero knowledge proofs on light mode. So on your phone, on any device, pretty much. And that's really the thing this is the key thing, no? That it expands the use of this technology to other applications, and it doesn't constrict it to the machine that you have.
Yeah, and a lot of people out there don't really have the processing power or capability to download these gigantic chains. I mean, I remember one time I tried to download a regular wallet from a project, which I don't even really have to mention, but it took me 3 days to do.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
some people don't even depending on what country you're from or what kind of internet you have, you may not even ever actually be able to download what you need. So if somebody really had to get this private transaction or send a private message, there's literally some people that can't even do that.
Can't, exactly. And now this opens up the I guess ecosystem to them. Some of the things that are changing, if I'm not mistaken, are also, like, for example, in order to be able to make a zero knowledge transaction, you have to have almost 1 gigabyte of RAM. So you have to have a pretty big device, and that kind of hampers the development for applications. So this update will allow us to create dApps to interact with zero knowledge proofs. And actually, the Zcash community made an announcement, and they said that they had always planned to phase out the transparent transactions. Apparently, this was a design decision because people were used to the Bitcoin transparent transactions, so they didn't want to force the anonymous transactions on everyone right away. But the plan is to use the Sapling eventually to phase out the transparent addresses. So everybody would be able to just use private transactions.
The thing too is if you got to think with these private transactions, if only a couple people are using the shielded ones, you probably could guess who they are. You know what I mean? Like if there's not enough of them, so
right. There's more data going into the analysis to find who's making the transaction. So for sure,
yeah, definitely. And one of the other things too that I noticed was that Verus as well, they actually have a few other features that are being upstreamed as well. Do you want to talk about those? Do you think those are significant?
I'll be quite honest with you. I don't understand them in depth enough to feel comfortable to talk about. Yeah, because for example, the nothing at stake problem, and this is something that is huge, I guess, for Ethereum, that they've been trying to solve this issue for a while. But I can't get my head around around how to explain it.
Yeah, we were gonna try to get Mike on. We
Yeah,
tried. We were gonna
yeah,
have him come on to explain, but unfortunately, he couldn't do it today. So hey, man, I if you listen, I'll take that as an answer because I don't know what the heck it is. That's why I asked you. I mean, I just so
yeah. No, but no, the Verus team. The great thing about them is how fast they're working,
mhm.
and they're doing things that Komodo hasn't been able to do because it's gotten a little bit bigger. They can't just make changes right away. But I think their team is doing great.
Well, I mean, okay, fine, that's cool. Maybe I'll have to get Mike on at a separate point. But
Yeah, I think so.
one thing that we can talk about though, this is something that I had touched on actually for anyone out there that looked at last month's issue of the Blockchain Brief newsletter. We had a huge interview with JL777, who's the anonymous founder of Komodo, and he was talking about crypto conditions. Now, that he can be very technical in the way he explains things, but maybe for others who don't understand, can we dive into that maybe in a little more like layman's terms right now?
Sure, yeah. The crypto conditions are really interesting. They're a smart contract layer, and they were proposed by the Interledger protocol some time back, and James implemented it. And basically, for you to be able to create a smart contract on Ethereum, you need to create it on Solidity, and you have to learn the language, and it takes a learning curve. With crypto conditions, it sort of standardizes how these contracts can be created and fulfilled, not only on one chain but on various chains. So, do you know what a UTXO is?
Yeah.
Unspent transaction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, with the smart contracts based on crypto conditions, they're UTXO based. So you are creating, they're actually in a way simple contracts instead of smart contracts, because you can do very simple functions with the crypto conditions, and then you can just add more functions to create a bigger contract. But basically what it does, it allows you to create contracts on Komodo that would be enforceable not only on Komodo but on other chains.
So what are some examples of them? Like, what can we do right now? Simple things that we could do with it.
There is one app or DApp that they're testing, and it's sort of, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Dice app,
Mm-hmm.
and it's based on a crypto condition contract. So you send funds to the address, and then the random some random generator happens, and then whoever gets the payout, the actual smart contracts makes the payout to the correct address. So it doesn't have any intervention once the address gets funded. That's one example of the crypto condition smart contract. So you could apply that pretty much to any DApp that would require, for example, any condition to fulfill a transaction.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, crypto conditions are pretty cool. Like you said, they're simple, but you can kind of like build on top, and they can like stack on top of each other to create these newer potential conditions, I guess is the way that
Right. Well, once you start diving into what they actually the crypto conditions are and how they work, you'll see that they're language agnostic. They are variable. I mean, multi-signature. You can do pretty much anything with them. They're Turing complete. So I mean, it's the thing about it though is that it's not well documented yet. So I still think it's going to take a good 6 months to a year for other developers to be able to look at it and start building on it easily. Right now Komodo is still building the ground layer for the crypto conditions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, these things take time, and people tend to not have that type of patience in crypto. But as we're seeing now, obviously the price got a little ahead of the ability for the tech to keep up with it, I think, so to speak. But, I still think that we're on track. I see people still out there working. You guys are still working. It's not like everyone's just throwing in the towel because suddenly Bitcoin's price fell. So that's the good news. And I'm really excited to see these projects like what you guys are doing and what others are doing that are actually working through this tough time and really focusing on building, rather than speculating. Like you're actually making the difference by actually getting out there and building these dApps or these crypto conditions or whatever it is that you're working on, which is definitely.
Yeah, I think we have to also, like, I know I explained the crypto conditions, and it sounds kind of like crazy stuff, but the thing is that, and that's one of the big things that we're doing with ChainZILLA, is that we're now speaking with companies that are involved in fintech. We're speaking with government. We're speaking with universities, and we're bringing or bridging more open source projects with these entities so we can actually come up with solutions that we can use. We're working with Komodo, NEM, we're working with Nix, we're working with various platforms in Latin America, and what we want to do is just try to step away a bit from the issuance of just nonsense cryptocurrencies and try to bring on companies and try to bring on actual use, to the technology. I truly believe in this. I don't think, I don't believe in a utopian thing that in 5 years we're going to see a decentralized world because blockchain came up and said, hey, it's decentralized. It's not going to work. Human nature is not this. It's not wired this way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take quite a lot to get there. But I think we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, just by having this conversation and hearing what you guys are doing is enough for me. And I did see that, by the way, those few articles that you guys had out there working in South America. That was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, essentially, what like lies ahead, really? I mean, as far as all these developments, I mean, you guys are still working. You see the potential future of this. Where,
Mhm.
like, what can we expect from this whole ecosystem moving forward? What is like the grand vision for Komodo, if you kind of had to
Well,
say?
for Komodo, I would think the vision is adoption, is some type of mass adoption. I can't say how that adoption will come. I'm not sure if it will be, for example, Komodo being a currency. I don't think it will be that. I think Komodo has a lot of other things that will be leveraged. For example, the delayed proof of work, right? I can see tons of things being built on that. So I think for the future in the term for projects that have real development, there's going to be a bright future, and that's why we are behind Komodo because it's one of those projects that really has development to the core.
Well, one of the things that really drew me to your project, ChainZILLA, was that you guys are also focused on helping to like sort of like revamp and revitalize a little bit. Like, the stuff is very complicated. Like I remember, now it's a lot easier because I've been in it for over a year and a half now.
Yeah.
But when I first like downloaded the Agama wallet, it was kind of like you had to go online and read a bunch of stuff and figure out how to open the wallet and then get your or get your coin out of the thing. So I really
Yeah.
think personally that the way to mainstream adoption is that simple use, making it familiar, making it just like the apps that we use every single day. And I
Exactly.
think once you can get it to that point where people are using blockchains without actually realizing that they're even using them, I think
Exactly.
that's when we've really done it. And I don't think we're close to that right now. I mean, we're
No,
getting
no, no.
there,
It's
but
it's gonna take a long, long time, and I'm telling you, it's a long battle ahead. But there are people, and as you can see, like not only us, but there's quite a lot of people still working, and like I see the fintech and blockchain world merging very fast, especially in Latin America. Right now, the fintech world in Latin America is not that mature. It's actually very young. So what's going to happen is that you're going to have blockchain technology over or taking over some of these regions faster than they would in Europe, for example, because Europe has a strong fintech community, a strong fintech economy.
mhm.
In Latin America, you don't see that. So you're going to see hybrid companies coming in with these blockchain fintech solutions, and that's where we want to get our foot in the door.
And these guys
We,
are excited about this. Like, are you seeing a
oh, for
demand? A
sure, yeah.
demand? Yeah,
They're
cool.
yeah, there's certain things they are excited about. They're not excited about the cryptocurrency aspect of it. Like and it's actually funny because I've been in universities where I've had to explain smart contracts, but I cannot mention the word cryptocurrency.
They
It's
tell you
funny.
you can't say it. They say you can't
Yes,
say
yes,
crypto.
it's on
Oh,
there.
that's
You
funny.
cannot mention. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. But and I've actually gotten aggravated because they don't understand how it works. But you have to be political about it. And what we want to do is we want to get new blood into the system and spread the word. So we have to play by the rules. But yeah, I think there's a bright future.
Absolutely. So do I. I mean, that's why I'm here, man. That's why we're having
Yeah,
this
that's true.
conversation. You know, everybody's got their part, big or small, whether it be you guys out there doing what you do or just trying to get the good word out there. I think we all play a role in this, and I think it's important that everybody sticks together. You know, on a side note, one of the things that really pisses me off is just the constant, like, um, you know, bullying in the space of, you know, my project's better than yours or this or that. I mean, you don't hear other projects talking crap about other projects, and when you do, you kind of go like, you know, like,
Yeah,
I feel like we should be working together in this space. You know, we could build so much more. It's still so early. So,
I agree. I see quite a lot of double efforts in the same areas whereas we should be collaborating instead of just trying to create something new. For example, what we are trying to do is collaborate. If we see a project that has a good wallet and we want to onboard people to that wallet, I'm not going to create a new wallet. I am going to that person and I'm going to try to collaborate in some way. And that's just the way that I go about business. But I know exactly what you mean. And you know, you have projects, for example, doing the same thing. They're
mhm.
trying to accomplish the same thing, but if they would combine forces, they maybe get somewhere faster.
I say that all the time. I'm like, you got a
Yeah,
brilliant mind over here. You got a brilliant mind over here. You're both going for the same goal.
yeah,
Why are you not working together? Like,
yeah.
this is how we're going to get that adoption. One of the things I wanted to ask you super quick, I know this is a little off topic, but I figured why
Sure.
not? I don't know if you know anything about this, but we have the Komodo is doing this, a rebranding, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you know any details on this? Like, what are they doing? Is it like logo, colors, like name? What's changing
Well,
exactly?
I guess it goes a little bit more deeper than that. I've been in communication with Ideas by Nature, who's the agency doing the rebrand.
Hmm.
And aside from the cosmetic changes to the website, they've done studies on the user interface and user experience. So pretty much what they're doing is that they're revamping all of the website and the applications to just make them more user friendly. So you will be able to understand the wallet a bit more. They're creating more tutorials. So I guess it's more about making it more accessible for the community and more understandable because right now it is quite it's quite technical. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean the Ideas by Nature initiative is a good one. I don't think it's gonna bring like huge technical change as far because the technical changes are already implemented like saplings and things like this, but it will improve the usability of the applications.
That's important to me though. I'm a
Yeah,
user. I am a
for
user.
sure. Exactly, it is.
If your product is great but your interface sucks, I'm not using it. Like, I'm
Hmm.
not going to go through 10 extra steps to try to, you know, that you've seen a lot of guys even with I was talking to William Quigley from Wax, and they were talking about how complicated it is even for people to, you know, buy and sell these skins sometimes because, you know, you got to go through like 10 steps just to send
Right,
your collectible essentially.
right,
So,
right.
you know, that's what they're trying to do too. And you see a lot of other guys doing this with, you know, video game projects too, like Engine and all, you know, they're all trying to just make it easier. And I think that that
Yeah,
is the really, that's for me the biggest goal. I want this in like, you know, I want my dad using an app. I want my grandma using an app, you know, and I want them to be excited for it. And I want them to not only use it because like their friend has convinced them that it's better for their privacy and everything else, but actually genuinely because it's an enjoyable
yeah, because
experience.
it's good. Right, exactly.
Hmm. So do,
Yes, exactly. I agree. I completely agree.
Um, yeah, so Charles, do you think there was anything that we kind of didn't cover today? I mean, we went over a lot of it. I know we were supposed to be
Yeah.
talking about a lot of the updates. We pretty much covered it,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we pretty much covered the updates. Yeah, I think we did cover quite a lot. I had some notes here, but I think we covered pretty much most of them.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, if there's anything you think we should touch before we go, I mean, let's, you know.
let's see here. Yeah, I think no, it's just I guess for any of the users that are going to be that are using Komodo, it's important if you have any funds in a zero address in a zero knowledge address that you migrate it over from one shielded pool to the other because the addresses are actually changing the format. So that is super important. So for the Komodo community, remember if you have funds in the zero knowledge addresses, you're going to have to migrate
Okay.
after the update.
That's very important because if
Yes.
not, they're going to get
Yeah.
lost or what?
Yeah. I mean, well, it's going to get phased out eventually. So I mean, people will have time to migrate it over.
Hmm.
But it's something that they want to do soon.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, and you have plenty of time to do that. So that's
Yeah,
why
definitely.
we're gonna, you know, we're gonna get this out right away. Make sure everybody has that opportunity to switch over as well. So, Charles, PTYX, thank you so much for stopping by the channel again and just giving us an update on what's going on. I really appreciate when projects communicate, man, because sometimes they don't, and that's so
It's
annoying.
good. Yeah, I like it. Hopefully, we'll be on maybe after January. Yeah, I mean, we'll have some updates then. And
Well, yeah, I mean, we got to see how you're doing with
sure,
with
yeah,
you
for sure,
guys. I
for
mean, we've
sure.
only talked about Komodo all day, so I definitely want to see how ChainZILLA's doing. I'm excited to see how that goes when you guys really start rolling out everything. I see
Perfect.
you've already been working pretty hard, so I'm
Yeah,
impressed with what I've seen. But you know, I'll be here and definitely let's do it, man. So.
definitely. Thank you again. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Absolutely, guys. So if you haven't checked out Komodo yet, you know, obviously Komodo, I'll drop the links in the description. And, you know, also Charles, ChainZILLA, they're doing really great things, working with a lot of different blockchains, not just Komodo, like you said. You have Nix, you have Qtum, right? Weren't you still working with those guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Nem. So you know they're being trying to be as agnostic as possible. So, yeah, guys. That being said, thank you for coming back to the channel. Everyone that's been liking, subscribing, commenting, you guys freaking rock. Until next time, my name's Kdub. This is Crypto Zombie. Stay crypto, and peace out.